Good evening, everyone. This is the Family Biz. Welcome to Monday Night Madness. We're getting close to football. We're getting close. We're getting close to snow. We've been saying a never-ending snow day. This is the place where you come to get your family together for a little bit and your business together for even a little bit longer. When the family's tight, the business is right. When you can't function in your mental state. And right now, it's a lot going on in the country. I'm your host, Kevin Impeccable Peck, and my beautiful wife, Dana Peck. How are you?
Doing great.
And my co-host, Mr. Tell Tally.
What's going on, my family? My family biz. I would say family biz. Say that 2 times. My family biz family. How's everybody out there doing?
Man, good. You know, they say the season, reason, and a lifetime. Why are you doing the business? But Tell Tally, you are my man. 20 grand, or I'll give you even 100 grand. A little bit more than that, but not since 9. You know, you have people that you do things with. And tonight we are talking about solar energy. You know, like, what is this energy thing? If anybody else is getting a bill that's crazy right now, mine is outstanding. I mean, I'm like, have you just put all of the bills? Have you not taken any money from me all year and now you want to do it? But we're going to be getting into solar energy. It's a lot going on. And before we get into that topic, I say, Tally, you brought up the DNC. I think for this is totally off subject, but it's right here. Man, people have to go out and vote. And they have to get it in their brain for their business, for their family, that they got to get out there and hit the polls. Now, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, Biden and Harris, but I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, Biden and Harris. I'm going to just ask you to vote for Biden and Harris, because what we have experienced this whole time has been nothing but foolishness, buffoonery, and chaos. And you know, he's not up for the job. His team's not up for the job. And now everybody's job is on the line because of how this crisis has been handled. Where did solar play in this crisis? Our guest was delayed because I think they were closing a big solar energy deal, and we're expecting them any minute. But before that, Tell Tally, what would you like to say tonight?
Well, you know, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I mean, we have the Republican National Convention, the RNC, whatever they had. There's so many things going on, man. I mean, for me, it's like a never-ending circus with the Republican Party. I posted some on my Facebook page where it had a bunch of clowns like at the subway in D.C. and it said, the speakers for the Republican National Convention have arrived a little early, and there's a bunch of them just in the subway coming into D.C. I mean, and literally, I'm looking at this, and it's just unprecedented. Some of the stuff that, you know, our president, don't get me wrong, I pray for the office of presidency every day, because we're told in the Bible to pray for our leaders. So we still pray for the position, even pray for so nothing to get there. But the lineup is just like the Trump family. You know, Ivanka's one night, Donald Jr.'s the next night, Eric's the next night. I said, hey, I'm the family reunion. I mean, you know, then it's sprinkled in there's a few other people. But, you know, the funny thing about it, though, is like my mind kind of got thinking a little bit, because I don't know if it's a controversy yet, but I know the rapper Ice Cube said, you know, now also, I mean, that the DNC was wonderful. But what is the agenda for the African-American community? You know, it's like we still don't know really what the agenda. I mean, and this is the time where we really have specifics on how they're going to. So it raised a little bit of conversation, even in my mind. I mean, because you see a lot of people on Facebook talking about, okay, we're voting for the lesser of whatever they believe, 2 evils, or, you know we can't take 4 more years of this, but it's also at a pivotal time when we can leverage our vote. You know, and everybody else leverage their votes, no matter what communities they're in. So, you know, it's a powerful vote, and the vote is a powerful tool, as we all know. So I guess when we get a chance at some point, maybe we'll have somebody on talk about what does it look like to leverage our vote to see what it is, you know, to speak to us. So that's kind of been on my mind. I don't know if I'm going to peek at this Republican convention or not, because I think it's just going to be a bunch of, you know, they say you play silly games, you get silly prizes.
They're gonna be on there tweeting to each other.
Yeah, so you're gonna get a bunch of silly prizes. What you're gonna get, you know what I mean? Because they're gonna be playing silly games. So
at the end of the day, you gotta vote, man.
Yeah, you gotta vote, though. You definitely have to vote at the end of the day. I am never not encouraging. I mean, people died for the right to vote. I mean, we have to address some other things, but absolutely. And you know, and the thing about it is, a lot of people I've talked to said, hey, you know, some people have made money during the Trump regime, but man, we cannot sacrifice it at the hands of the masses and what's going on, and some of this stuff that's misogynistic, and it's you know, just this whole narcissistic and racist environment that we're in. I mean, you and I were talking a little bit backstage, even, another shooting. We can get into that later, to another shooting in Wisconsin. A gentleman stopped to break up a supposed fight. And when the police arrived, he's walking back to his van to check on his children. I guess it got heated, and they just shot him 7 times in the back. I mean, it appears on video they just shot him for nothing. Said he may have been reaching for a weapon, but I mean, dude, at the time he was walking to his car, it was clear he didn't have a weapon on. So we just got to pray, family. We got to really stop this madness, and people are getting tired. They really are getting tired of it. So, so it's a lot going on. You got still the pandemic, your never ending snow day. As you put it, going on. So, everybody's still dealing with that, so
Dana, if you just tuned in and popped up on the Afro-American newspapers Facebook page, they have been in business as a family for 128 years, inspiring, educating, and informing, and still continuing through everything to push forward for information that's useful, not only for your family, but for your business. We do us a service. If you haven't ever liked us before, hit the like and hit the share button. Our plan was to talk about solar energy tonight, and hopefully our guests can make it on. We've been in constant communication. We didn't want to prolong. We're trying to stay good stewards of our time and of what God has put in front of us. And sometimes you just got to push through. And sometimes God might have something else for you. He might say, I want to talk about my energy, not solar energy. So we'll find out what that is. But let's just get an overview of solar energy, because people are looking at their bills. They're trying to figure it out. Will they? And thank you, Heidi, for sharing. Byron, what's up? Always, Byron, you are our #1 fan, bro. We thank you for just your fist up gives us the strength just to push forward. And if we don't say thank you, Byron, for just it's like voting. No, just for commenting. You know what I mean? We just want to say that to everybody. Thank you for sharing. Share, because it's like a two-way communication. You wish you could have everybody on. But let's talk about the solar field. I think our guest might be joining us pretty soon. What we got going on tonight with solar energy?
Okay, well, I thought it might be interesting to look into the history of solar energy. And really the concept of generating energy has been around for, they say, at least 7th century. And if you think about it, people would light fires with what?
How far are you going back? You want a caveman?
All right.
No, nothing like
matches.
Glasses, magnifying glasses.
Magnifying glass. How about 2 sticks you rub together and just the sunlight?
Right. And then within 4 centuries, people were lighting torches with a combination of sunlight and mirrors. And by the late 18th century, ships were using solar ovens for long journeys. So this has been something that's been around for a while. And it has been a fast growing industry in America and around the world since the mid 2000s. And by the end of 2019, it really only represented about 1.5% of the U.S. energy sources. And it's really poised to gain an enormous market share in the next decade. But you can imagine that the competition really doesn't want that,
I wonder why.
Right.
It's a lot of coal going on here.
Right. And so the main problem, though, with solar energy has been it's really been not that efficient. It was difficult to harness the sun's energy. And so the efficiency jumped from 8 to 4%, and now it's up to 33.33%. And when the U.S. government started introducing tax credits, then it really got very popular, created a really big boom. And then have you seen like in China, they have these solar panels, these huge buildings. So they've really focused on solar energy. And before it was the cost of it, like in the 50s, was $300 per watt, including installation. Now it's gone down to under $3. So it's becoming more affordable, and more people are interested in the industry. And okay, how we say, well, how much money does this industry generate? How much do you think?
$5 billion.
10 billion.
$10 billion with a B.
B. In 2019, those are the numbers. And with 2020, now with COVID, of course, this industry will be impacted too, just because of installation and access to people who could do that. And then there's a little drama in the solar industry, and maybe our guests will tell us about it. But what are you going to do with these solar panels when they're not in use anymore? How are you going to recycle these solar panels? That's the question. Now, so this is our topic today.
That's for the green world.
Yes.
Which we should all be moving towards, at least thinking more green conscious.
Yes.
You know, as African Americans, I don't know how green we've been thinking besides money. Like, where's that stimulus check? Anyway.
Well, if you could save money, that's green too, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have a great guest coming on. Why don't you introduce our guest so we can get right to it?
Yes. So tonight we have a friend of Family Biz, George Lee, who has been in the solar industry for just over 4 years. He works for LGCY Power and is one of the district managers for the state of Maryland. And he's helped dozens and dozens of homeowners save and make money by upgrading and converting their homes to solar power. And he has it as his mission to educate and train homeowners on the benefits and the incentives of going solar. And on the personal side, he is a husband and father to not one, not two, but 3 girls.
George.
All in
Here's a pat on the back, George, for you. I once had hair like you, George. I got, 3 girls will do it. Anyway, welcome to the Family Biz, my brother. Can you hear us clearly?
Well, listen, yes, sir. Yes, I can. It's my genuine pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for allowing me to grace the show. It's definitely fire for sure.
Absolutely. So we want to kick right in. I'm gonna kick it over to Tell Tally, and let's get right into this solar conversation. And then even let's start with the residential town. I don't know where you're gonna start, but go ahead. I know you always like to say from the beginning, so I'm gonna
yeah. We always start from the beginning, and it's funny because Dana mentioned the solar business and the fact that man has always used sunlight, in terms of a source, and I guess about 5 years ago, maybe even a little late, but around 5 years ago, I noticed a boom in the industry. Everybody was selling solar, and price was an issue at one time. We'll give you this free. We'll do this to get the solar panels, and we'll do whatever. So as Impeccable said, I always start from the beginning. So tell us how you got into the business and maybe some of the things that you've seen change just over the last year or two.
Absolutely. So I got into the business. I've always been in customer service and sales. I'm a big believer in making sure that the customer is taken care of, making sure the homeowner is taken care of. And I was doing some business to business with Comcast, and a friend of mine was just pulling on me and saying, "Hey, George, you need to take a look and check out this opportunity." And I'm like, no, I'm okay. I'm doing well, got benefits, making great money. To make a long story short, I ended up taking a look at the opportunity after he bugged me about 2 or 3 times. And he said, no, man, I really think that you're really going to enjoy this because you love people. And number 2, you can actually help people, save money and really touch the planet in a different way. And so, I heeded to it, went to a meeting, and 4 years later, here I am. Things have drastically changed in reference to what I saw as it relates to there are more and more homeowners and residential and commercial owners and folks that are actually going solar. They're getting more educated about it. It's everywhere. You can't go to any particular county now and not see at least one solar panel on somebody's house, or been to a business maybe that you shopped at Walmart, Target, Mom's Organic, and it's not been on top of the roof or even at IKEA, in fact. And so I've seen tremendous growth and change over the past year with a big exploding boom there in that regard.
So let's talk a little bit about, because let's talk about the competition in the market, because it seems like sometimes, you don't know who to go with. You'll see and I don't want to say name brand, but Solar City, or you'll see this company or that company. Like you say, you're starting to see more and more panels on people's roofs and here and there. So usually when you start, it's almost like when you buy a black car and all of a sudden you see everybody got a black car riding by. So you start maybe noticing them more. And it's like, wow. But let's talk about the competition a little bit. So why would somebody, in your opinion, choose one particular solar? Because if I'm like, hey, sunlight hits panel does whatever. So is there any particular difference that you would lend to one company over the other?
Absolutely. There are a few different differences. One primarily is education, right? I believe that unfortunately there is a lack of professionals in different arenas, and solar is one of them. Unfortunately, there's some bad apples in the bunch. And so, with that being said, the homeowner doesn't know, too much about this process. And so someone like myself who's educated about it can really begin to talk with the homeowner and educate them. So education is number one. Number two is warranties. Every company is different in terms of how they warranty a roof, or the warranty of the actual panels themselves. Number three is speed. How fast can we go from the time we're sitting at the table talking about solar to the time it goes on your roof or in the ground. And so those three factors are huge and can set one company apart over another, and will allow one company to do tremendously better than another.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. I personally have them. I mean, you were my agent, and it's kind of by the fact of how we met, because somebody else actually knocked on my door. And then that, me and that gentleman started business. He recommended you because of your professionalism. And I was somebody that just, got tired of, or what I appeared, my bills going from 150 to 200 to 230 electric bills. So can we talk a little bit about, just in layman's terms, about how solar actually works now, as opposed to your electricity? Because I think some people may be a little bit in terms of, do I still get electric bill? Do I get a gas bill? What happens? So you can talk a little bit about how that process works in terms of the energy and what it does.
Absolutely. In a nutshell, we've all been getting our power from power plants for decades now. There's a big debate. People would say Thomas Edison created the grid. Some people are saying Nikola Tesla. I'm not going to get into all of that, but the fact remains is that we've been utilizing an archaic method of getting our electricity, and so subsequently, with anything old or anything that's breaking down, it needs maintenance, and so those maintenance costs are not something that BGE is in business to make money. They're not a charity, as most people would tend to think. And so as a result, they want to make sure that the grid is taken care of for the homeowner. And so the grid costs money to maintain, and subsequently all of that cost is transferred to the customer. Where with solar is, instead of your power coming from thousands of miles away, it's right there on your roof. And it's a very, very seamless process, few pieces of equipment. And hey, sun comes out, you can begin to generate clean, renewable electricity for family.
Right. That's interesting. So explain this to me, because a lot of the things that people have been talking about recently is technology. And one of the things that I like about mine is that the technology aspect of it, I can actually have an app for it. I can look on there seeing somewhat, I don't understand it, but it has the kilowatts, what I burn. I just kind of look at it and be like, oh, okay, it looks like as long as that bill comes in. But I want to talk a little bit about the technology aspect of it, and how it simulates and gives you, because it seems like it gives you a little bit more control as well too. I don't know the difference between a kilowatt or whatever. I mean, all my life I just get my bill and pay my bill, and I gotta trust what you're saying. Is a kilowatt burn? I see my little meter speeding around, when the guy comes and stuff like that. But I wanted to ask you, how have you all, or do you think technology wise it's going to grow with the technology aspect of solar? It seems to be a little bit more, from a technology point of view, a little bit more interesting, because like I said, I can go to my app on my phone, and I don't know if BG&E have, if they do, they haven't made it known to me, but I do like the fact that if I want to see from week to week my usage, I can keep track of that on an app that I have with the company.
Absolutely. So the panels have come a long way since the 40s and the 50s. And that's one of those things where I tell all of of client homeowners that I talk to, solar is no different than the iPhone or the Samsung, right? You know, every year it seems like they're trying to get us with this has a better upgrade to that. This, you know, the camera, the storage. Well, solar is similar in that respect, where it does have its improved technology, meaning the improvement of the technology is the amount of sun that the actual panel can capture, right? And they call that conversion efficiency. And so it's not at 100% as some people may think, but it's getting there. It's growing every day. But as a result, those panels, there are different types of watt of panels, meaning how much power or how much energy can that panel absorb from the sun as it relates to converting it into usable electricity that you and I are accustomed to. So that's one of the things that have changed has been the panels, and that will continue over time. But it's small changes. Again, it's like the iPhone. You know, the camera got a little bit better, the storage got a little bit better. So it hasn't bounced from leaps and bounds, or like Superman, if you will. It's not bounds in that respect, but it has come a long way as it relates to the panels having the capability to monitor what your usage is or your production. That has definitely come a long way, because now, like you said, you're able to check it out and see what your panels are doing. There's a level of transparency between us as a solar company and you being the homeowner. You want to know that what we said or what we told you was we're going to produce and do, that they're going to produce and do, and you have that opportunity to be able to do that from the app, and that's been getting better better by the day and better by the month as well.
So explain to us a little bit in terms of the thought process that maybe like when it's not sunshine, right? So is there a storage capability for the panel? Because like on rainy days, cloudy days, is it more efficient in the summertime versus the winter time when the sun goes down at 5 o'clock as opposed to longer days in the summertime? Do you expect to see your bills lower in the summertime because it's more daylight, or does the panels absorb energy and store that energy? How does that kind of, you know, in a layman's term, work in terms of sunlight and daylight?
So that's definitely a great question. That's a question I get all the time, right? We're coming out of the summer into the fall pretty soon. It's amazing where this year has gone and how fast it's going. But you know, when customers are asking me those questions in terms of efficiency, there you are generating more energy in the 3 seasons, the spring, the summer, and the fall, than we do in the wintertime. That's indeed true. However, the sun still comes out in the wintertime, and so you still are able to produce your electricity there. And with the idea is that you're looking at it from one season all the way to another season. And what that does is similar to our animals, right? They're looking to the squirrel is looking to store up as much food as he can for the wintertime. Well, that's your panels are essentially doing the same thing. No, it's not a storage capability on the panel themselves. You would have to get that separately, and that's like with a battery backup. Tesla has a phenomenal battery backup where your panels would actually absorb the electricity. Any electricity that you don't use at the house gets stored in the backup, right? And then your home can use it later. Here in Maryland, that's not necessarily as advantageous as, say, like a state like California, where they have a bunch of black. And they also have these things called tiers, where the utility company will bill the homeowner in tier rates or peak times, right? And so subsequently, you want to have a battery backup there. But here in Maryland, is not necessary as much. If you want to get one and be fancy and keep up with the Joneses, that's okay. But in terms of the efficiency and what it does, solar panels do not store electricity as contrary to popular belief. you need another device or a piece of equipment to be able to do that. But in the wintertime, you'll still make your power. You just contingent upon which you've used in the 3 previous seasons. And that's still what you save money from in those winter as well.
So let me ask you this, because I've heard you've mentioned a few times, or maybe you said it, but does Elon Musk hold the patent to solar? Because I've heard that before, that he's the maker of Tesla, of course. Does he own the patent to solar panels too, or something, or he gets a portion of it or something?
No, he doesn't hold the patent to it. It's just when you think about he's a tremendous brander, right? When you think about solar, most people automatically think about a Tesla, right? You know, electric car, and you start about solar. Some years ago, they had a merger where Tesla actually bought Solar City. Ever went in Home Depot or Lowe's or any of the home improvement shops, stores there, you know, pretty much Solar City was there. Well, Tesla ended up buying that. But they do, you know, he doesn't have a patent on the actual panels themselves, as most people, or probably he would like to think. But he, you know, he definitely has a good market share for sure with buying Solar City. Yes, ma'am.
I had a question. Is there a certain threshold for a house that would benefit from solar? Like, do you have to have a certain amount of footage for it to benefit you?
Well, it really depends. It depends on how much power you use. Would indicate, you know, how many panels you need. So if you use a lot of power, you need a lot of panels. If you use a little bit of power, you need a little bit of panels. But the house also can cause a restraint, you know, as to how big your roof space is. And so we take those things into consideration. There are 2 main things actually that we take into consideration. How big is the roof? How many panels can we fit on there? And how much power or electricity are using at that time. And we reference those things and produce a design for you.
George, we have a question. Dr. Draper says, can solar panels go on a slate roof?
Very good question. They can. There are very few companies that actually put it on slate, because slate is so what's the word I'm for? It is not something that you want to crack and replace. But to answer his question, yes, but very, very few companies do it. And you'd be hard pressed to find one that will actually put it on slate. But yes, the answer is emphatically yes, you can find a company that can put it on slate.
Or is that when I've heard that you have to go with Tesla, because they actually, I heard, put a whole roof on. They take your roof off and put the panels on. Is that true, or do you know?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. They have something called solar shingles, and solar shingles I think are a fantastic product. I love the solar industry and its innovation. However, there's some downsides or flaws to like the pros and cons with anything, right? One of the pros is that you have solar built into your new roof, but the con is that the cost is so super high that really only the quote unquote upper echelon people are getting that type of solar system with that roof, because it costs so much, and it's, to be candid with you, it's not as cost effective as just getting panels on the actual roof itself.
So how long before?
But it's a fantastic.
How long before it catches up? Like, is it 10 years or 20 years of, you know, because Mr. Tally just said that he got the system. When does it balance off, and what and how does it save on your bill? You know, what percentage does it save on your bill?
Great question. So what I've seen in most cases is that solar pays for itself because of all of the incentives. I don't know where everybody's listening from. Here in Maryland, Maryland is a very green energy state, that they have a host of different benefits, and then depending on the county that you live in also provides some benefits. So for example, The federal government, this is the last year where they will provide 26% towards the cost of your solar. Please, I'm not a tax advisor, and Craig will tell you this. I said the exact same line. Talk for accountant. I do not provide tax or legal advice. But the general rule of thumb is that they will provide. The government provides 26% towards the cost of your system. The state of Maryland here, they provide $1,000 grant. Depending on the county you live in, Craig just so happens to live in Baltimore County, so I'll use him as an example. They pay $1,000 property tax rate. And so that's applied towards the system. And then there's these things called SRAC, or solar certificate, where you can make money from your solar, not just save money. That's one aspect, but you can begin to make money as well. And when you put all of those things together, the general return on investment or turnaround time is generally between 8 to 10 years, and if everything looks favorable there.
So along the way, you are lowering your bill, though, huh?
That's correct. When you think about BGE and the other utilities, they have us on a roller coaster from season to season. The great thing about solar is that you can have a fixed cost or a fixed payment for your electricity that can go from month to month. And in most cases, and Craig will attest to this here, he saved money, this year, and the months that he's had solar. So it does help you save money initially, does help you save money overall, because let's think about it, guys. The utility is really a landlord, right? They determine if they want to raise the rates this year per the Public Utilities Commission. They have that right. 9 times out of 10, they will give them that approval. And in part, I understand it's a matter of national security, but we got to pay that.
Saying it's you can't have them say, look, my bill is wrong. I didn't have those lights on upstairs, and my curl now in my PlayStation. That doesn't work, huh? It's like they got some kind of formula. Like Craig said, I got an app, but still, I cannot tell. Has the technology said, okay, you had your living room on for too long this month? Is that does that play into play there, or you just got to take the best of two evils, and now solar is just the lesser evil for how they're gonna rake you over the coals? No pun intended.
So I heard that same thing. So there are measurements in place. So one way to monitor how much electricity that your panels have made is the app, right? But the other way is through BGE. They put a special meter on your home, and that meter allows you as the homeowner to be able to see what's going on in the actual bill. And so you can begin to see your credits and things like that carry over on the bill. So there is some transparency there. But I get there's some homeowners that are like, I don't necessarily trust it. But the fact remains is information.
So whatever, right? So right. My payment's low, and I'm helping out. I'm going green, everybody. We got the solar man. The solar man came down the block, and he closed 5 out of the 25 homes. So this is the Family Biz. Telltale, I'm gonna bounce it right to you after this. Is it a good business? Because there's a lot of people who are looking to just do something different right now. We're out of work. Is the solar business budding and growing business in the hood as well as in just in rural America too?
Absolutely. From the city to the rural area, solar is definitely booming. It's an industry that I would love to see more color jewels get involved in, especially more females. There's a lot. This industry is male dominated. I would love to see more Black females involved. I tried to get my wife in it. She, I'll take care of the kids. So I didn't want to press her too much. You got to know when you can win that fight or lose that fight. But I would see more Black females involved in the solar industry and more Black folks in general. The opportunity is tremendous right now. Solar energy or renewable energy is only makes up 1 to 2, maybe 3% of what how we generate our power. Aside from coal and nuclear and fusion and all those things there. So the upside is tremendous. You got 96, 97% upside there. Different states are opening up. Different laws are changing for our favor, and it's a tremendous business to be in. I would love to talk with anybody about it, but I can talk all day about it. But that's the reality is it's open. You can make a ton of money.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
I wanted to hear what the ton of money really ain't.
No, I stopped on the ton of money. We spoke about a ton of money.
He said a little bit. He made a ton of money. Go ahead. Let's hear it, George.
Yeah, you can make a ton of money with solar. I tell people, I was talking with one of the new recruits in my office today, and I said, we here in this industry make money like athletes. And that is, now we're not talking about LeBron James or anything like that. We're talking about maybe the 12th man on the bench next to the water cooler. But there is a ton of money to be made out here, and companies are willing to pay. If you're willing to work, put in the work, you'll be able to be compensated very, very well.
Somebody text me and said, are any of these companies African American owned?
As far as I know, there are 2 to my knowledge. One that stands out, I believe Ray Lewis has something with Power 52. And there's another gentleman, I can't recall his name. But for the most part, there are not a lot of African American owners. There was a young lady that I just saw, I believe she was in Forbes, that just closed a deal on solar and putting solar in, on the ground and things of that nature. And she's done a fantastic job. I apologize, I can't recall her name. There are some African Americans making moves, but to answer your question, there are not a lot of African American solar company owners at all, and we need more.
Tell it.
So yes, I just wanted to differentiate or find out the residential versus commercial. And I don't know if you do both of them or not. First, let me say congratulations, because I know you just been promoted to a district manager, and we talked earlier, and also a trainer. So you're making moves in the company. So we do my next question will be about the business side of it and how, the advantages. But can we talk a little bit about commercial versus residential? How does that kind of work? Or is there a different sales cycle for you with that? Or do you do residential and commercial?
So there is a different sales cycle. I don't do as much commercial, primarily for most solar companies, that the margin is so small on the commercial side, in terms of profit, with a lot more headache. But there's money to be made even on the commercial side. That cycle is a little bit longer. It can be 60, 90, 120, 180 days, right? Where you got certain stadiums that you can do, or even like here in Maryland, you got the University of Maryland has gone solar. BWI has gone solar. Domino Sugar. If you've seen that, and you down that street and you're looking up and you see the Domino Sugar sign, that's powered by solar. All of those were through a commercial aspect, took a lot longer to close. That cycle is a lot longer, but the checks are a lot bigger. But for most people, they can't wait that long, cycle out. I don't do a lot of commercial at all. I'm just kind of getting in the flow of that. There's a department that handles that. I get that lead and I just funnel it off and focus on residential. But there is definitely a space and opportunity on the commercial side as well.
Right. So a little bit, I wanted to just go over a little bit of the process also. So you mentioned a little bit in terms about some houses being efficient. And I remember when they kind of did like a case study on my house, where they kind of on the corner, how much sunlight comes in, what angle it comes in, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know how much you know about it. I know Tom being a sales rep, you know what they do. but are they, and you said earlier about the roof size and the house size and the amount of energy that comes in or sunlight that comes in. I just wonder if you could talk, because sort of everybody doesn't think that automatically, because there are some houses just that are not equipped. We already talked about slate roofing, I guess, but are there some houses you just say, hey, you don't qualify right now because it'd be too much of a hassle or whatever to get solar? How does that work?
Absolutely. So the houses that we look for, here are our qualifications: that you gotta have a good roof that gets good sun, and we determine that through running through our designs there. Got to have at least a 650 credit score or better, and everybody pays their bills on time. You know, that's just from a legality sake. And then the other aspect is your electrical has to be up to code. That's not a deal breaker, but it is something that we honestly do take a look at. Whether you go solar or not, you want to make sure that your electrical and everything there's no frayed wiring, things of that nature. And if so, needs to be taken care of. But there are houses that I skip, that I do not help, unfortunately, help that homeowner. A lot of those are like shaded houses that have a bunch of trees around it. They're in the middle of the jungle somewhere. I can't help with that. We do have some tree contractors on our staff that can help with that. If it's one or trimming back trees and things, but in most cases, I skip those homes. If it has a tremendously bad roof, and, I used to skip those homes, but we have opportunities for people to get new roofs there. And electrical, again, is another thing that we look at and want to make sure that is up to code and up to par. If not, in most cases, like I said, we can handle it. But if we can't, and it's a deal breaker, then we have to walk away.
Right. So it's just like, so let's talk a little bit about, and this will be the last little segment on my part. Let's talk about, you said how people can, and I'm sure you're changing, move, I guess, up from a business perspective. I mean, we, here on the Family Biz, it's an entrepreneurial show of those that own their own business. And I always believe that if you're a salesperson, you can command your salary anyway, because like you said, I mean, it's 10 o'clock at night, you're still at the office. So that's not average banker hours where somebody does a 9 to 5 type thing. So somebody coming to you saying, hey, I want to get involved. How can I make maybe, or what is the projection that maybe I can do from a business perspective? And it's not always financial, but it's the growth too. So what are my transferable skills? Like, I'm going to learn teamwork. I'm going to learn development. I'm going to learn how to do this, that, and the other. So what would you say is an overall opportunity, including money? Maybe something somebody would learn if you were pitching them their first year or 2 or 3 in the business?
That's definitely a great question, because that's one of the questions I had, or one of the statements I had for one of my new recruits coming in today. He never knocked the door before, never had any type of interaction as it relates to door-to-door sales. That's not all we do. We get referrals and leads and all those things, but a part of what I call my junior consultants do is they got to learn how to knock the door. They got to learn how to talk and engage with people. And what happens is they become more fluid and more confident in being able to talk to anybody anywhere, right? So that's one skill that you can begin to learn. Another skill is that there are people that are just afraid to make connections with people. I can't tell you the amount of connections. Even you, Craig. I mean, this is a prime example. You never know the house that you're going into, right? And so, and what opportunities can spawn from that. And so, tell all my reps just to make sure that you're educated, become educated in what you know. This is a profession. You should be a sales professional. And so as a sales professional, you want to take time to learn. No, we're not going back to school. This is not middle school or college or anything like that. But there are aspects of this business, there are aspects of this industry that every new person that comes in needs to know. You need to be open to receive training. A lot of reps that come in are not coachable at first, right? They are like Lone Rangers. They're Clint Eastwood. They They just want to do their own thing. But when they come in, they start to learn the team environment. That this is not Tiger Woods. This is not you out there on the golf course by yourself. It is like a basketball team, a football team. Is create a team environment, and they learn that, and they can take those skills back home. You know, where the husband wasn't a good husband to his wife, or vice versa, and now they learn that aspect of team being here. They can take that back home. You know, or the aspect of even connecting with, learning how to talk in a very simplistic manner to the homeowners. Well, that's a transferable trait, because people want to be talked to in ABC 1, 2, 3, and not a whole bunch of jargon. And I apologize if I used a bunch of jargon. I try to be as simple as possible, and lose folks. But
you're doing good, brother. You're doing good, because we didn't get in and tell Tally brought up kilowatts, and you know, a lot of people don't look at that bill. They don't know what kilo is, or is it in watts? Are you in kilowatts, California? What kind of watts are you
my
killing,
wallet?
my brother?
It's be called killer wallet. That's what it's called. Killing my wallet.
Right,
But you know,
that's what
the
it
thing
should be
about
called.
it is, even, you know, one of the things that I'll kind of piggyback on that George said is that you really want to feel comfortable, because you know, one of the things, I guess, the knocks you get when you get a door-to-door industry is like used car salesman. Here we go. You know, you're knocking on the door, they putting the door hangers on, da-da-da. So it's not like you walk into a plush, you know, showroom and they say, would you like some coffee or water or whatever? So it takes an impeccable, and I, you know, started back in Atlanta with the Atlanta Journal and Constitution. So we used to knock door to door dealing with newspapers for the Atlanta Journal and Constitution, and you run into some interesting characters, and some interesting things will happen in your life when you knock door to door. But you meet real America. Just like when politicians say they got to go knock door to door and meet America. I mean, you meet all kind of no teeth, the some teeth, the, you know, the get off my property. I mean, we were in rural Georgia selling the Atlanta Journal and Constitution, and to African American. We had a team of African Americans, and it was a few times we had shotguns pointed at us, like, if you don't get off my property with that nonsense, you're not gonna make it home. So I mean, it's interesting that but that's where you kind of start in the trenches, you know, getting that kind of training where you really get to say that's sales to me, and you can drive your commission, and if you can sharpen your iron to get to that point, then, you know, that is a very transferable skill. So I wanted to, you know, talk about it. So the last question I promise that I have, because we respect the hour, is, as Dana said in her introduction, do you see this ever becoming obsolete? She talked about greenhouse and things like that. And is it a time when they're gonna become get all these panels off my roof because they're saying they ain't gonna need it no more or whatever? It's just scrap metal. So do you ever see it going to another level where I'm gonna hit a button and my roof is gonna open and the sunlight's gonna come in, they're gonna have glass, and so we're, you know, whatever, that James Bond type stuff, you know, sharks swimming around in the pool and that type of stuff. So do you see where do you see it elevating panel wise in the future possibly, or will it become obsolete?
No, I think it, you know, it will the industry will continue to grow and develop. I got to give Elon his props. I'm no hater. I think he's onto something as it relates to the solar roof. But it just has its kinks that needs to be worked out, and cost, profit margins, and all those things. But no, solar is definitely here to stay. How it's going to look may change and evolve over the next decade or two. But it's not changing overnight. As I mentioned, it's just like the cell phone. It'll little upgrades, little efficiency upgrades here and there and everywhere. But it's not gonna take a drastic change. I don't see until the next probably 10, 15 years or so. But solar is definitely here to stay.
Well, as I said, man, I want to, you know, I'm going to go around the horn and pass it back to Impeccable, but I definitely want everybody to get your information, and Dana can put it up or whatever. Because I mean, this gentleman, and I'm the kind of person, when people give you bad service, then, you know, I will yell it to the mountaintops. And when they give you great service, I believe we should make sure we do that too. And this brother really kept his word. Even when it wasn't his responsibility. We had a little situation with the county, because the county's got to come out and look at your box and different like that. And he really held my hand. And I can be a difficult person when I don't get what I want. So I called this brother a few times. Like, look here, man. He's like, look, I don't even work for the county. You know what I mean? I have nothing to do with that. But you know, so he definitely went above and beyond. I mean, you know, even the things that weren't his responsibility. And I believe that We always should support those people that are doing good things. I mean, a great guy, always pleasant attitude. I mean, I never, caught him on a bad day even with his family. Like I'm with my kids this weekend. But if you need me, call me. So I commend you on that, as I said, in terms of your professionalism and working with clients, because again, things sometimes can go a little haywire like anything else. Because we're dealing with so many entities that have to connect the wiring, the frame, to this, to that. The county has to come out, put the tag on it, say it's good, and you quarterback all that. So I want to thank you, if I haven't, and make sure that if anybody's looking for solar, definitely to check you out. I mean, to give you a call, and he wasn't pushy. He's like, look, if it doesn't do what I say, dude, I mean, we're gonna go step by step with it. So at least talk to the brother about what are your options. Again, what are your options? And he wasn't pressed for a sale. Like, either if we can do something, we're gonna do it. If we can't, then it's not a problem. But I did want to say, with that 650 credit score, that might eliminate half the people in the hood. But and I shouldn't say that. That's profiling. That's profiling. But I'm sure that, you stay in the Baltimore County area a little bit more sometimes than some other areas. But thank you once again. And, and I'll let this be my last words too, Impeccable. But thank you so much for coming on and explaining that a little bit. And I'll pass it back to the host, Impeccable, and his wife, Dana, see if there's any questions or they have any questions.
Well, if you just tuned in, you are on the Afro American newspaper, 128 years of a family-owned business. Like us on Facebook. If you've never heard of us before, we've been around. We got archives to go back to Booker T. Washington writing letters. Further than that, 128 years. I don't even want to do the math. That's like trying to look at your solar panel bill or whatever, your electric bill. It's a long time. Okay? And we need you. We need your support. We need to be able to keep bringing information, because information is going to give us the power. You know what I mean? And we hope, George, you have that company one day. You don't stop just at at regional sales manager, wherever you are now, but you begin to own the company. Dana, final words.
Yes. Well, we began this show talking about the upcoming election, and solar will be an issue. I mean, when we're looking at the candidates, we need to look and see their position on solar energy. And we need to do our part. Also, when we look at local elections and what the local policies are in your individual areas. And I am a full proponent for reducing your carbon footprint and reducing our nation's dependence on foreign oil. So doing our part with solar energy is a good start. And so I'm just encouraging everyone to look to see how the two parties are looking at solar energy when you make your decision.
If they looking at them sideways like this, I'm still voting for Biden. I don't care how they looking at solar. I'm just gonna let you know. Y'all better get out there and vote. If they not on solar, don't make that your decision. If solar's your decision, we'll figure that out. We'll take George to your house or something. We'll build a solar panel, put it out in the lawn about a mile away and get a pipe or something to channel it in. You've seen those solar farms. Anyway, we didn't even talk about solar farms, but George, final words, man. And then we want to know how people can get in touch with you if you're in the Maryland area, because we got people watching from all over the world. I'm sure you're not traveling to different states, but you could probably refer them if your company.
Absolutely. Well, and final thing really is, I tell all my homeowners, it's super simple. The biggest thing is just getting through the hurdles, right? It's not as challenging as it once was to go solar. And I would just say, let's just sit down, let's just talk. I'm a teacher at heart. I'll walk you through the information or whoever you feel comfortable with as a solar consultant, have them walk you through. I can reach pretty much any state. We touch a lot of states, and so if we can't see you physically, I can at least get you via Zoom and see if we can help you that way. My contact information is 267-581-0612. I'm a Philly guy. I still got a Philly number. That's my direct number. I told Craig that no matter how hard he wanted to get rid of me anyway, he couldn't, because he got my personal number. And so
when people really want to do business, George, look, this is how you know people want to do business with you. They don't pop you no card with a number that goes to somebody else. If they want to do business with you, here's my direct contact for solar. And don't be calling George about nothing else. Just call him about solar. This guy's a married man. He's a married man with kids. I want to talk about anything else but solar. All right. And I like the fact that, how old are you, George?
I'm 39.
39. He writing that young boy swag, you know what I'm saying? He's still doing business and he got his hat on backwards. Does that he has his hat on backwards? It does not, but sometimes. What'd you say, George?
No, I was saying I hope it wasn't offensive for
not to me. Not to me. Not, you know, but some people judge a solar panel by its cover, I think. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean? That's true. The thing about it is you gotta bring the information. You gotta look at the information. If this is a property you plan on staying for some time, you made a considerable investment into your property and you want to reduce your bills and you want to reduce the carbon footprint, you should consider solar. Because it's going to keep getting better. It will come a day when we'll have electric cars. I don't know who they're going to have to shoot to do that because they don't want to get their hands out of the cookie jar. Just like with the cell phone business, we could have better cell phone service, but we're still using this antiquated, technology while the whole world is zooming past us. So we got to pick it up, y'all. And we got to vote. Let me say that one more time, but in case you're not listening. This is the Family Biz, man. We come on every Monday from 9 to 10. On the Afro-American Newspapers platform. We appreciate you tuning in live or tuning in at a later time when you can. But just keep it in mind, man, give George a call on his business cell phone directly and see if he can help you, because maybe he can. And maybe you can save some money and maybe you can learn more about solar. Thanks again for everybody who tuned in. Until next week. Be safe out there. Wash your hands from every step of the way. Just keep washing your hands. Don't forget. Don't get weak right now. We got to push through. We about to go hit that third wave. Don't get weak. Until next week.